Hi, I'm Daryl Rainey from Progressive Realty Group here in Waterford. Everyone knows this building as the Golden Pond Retirement Home. But did you know that this building was once a popular hotel? One that was even featured in a well-known travel magazine? Growing up in Waterford, I knew this place as the Syracuse, a place to catch a rockin' band and have a cold drink. But times have changed. In this episode of Building History, our pal James from the Waterford Heritage and Agricultural Museum explores the colorful history of one of Waterford's most iconic buildings.
Golden Pond, as we know it today, originated as the Waterford Hotel. It was built as actually one of the largest in the community. There was a need for many hotels and public houses and boarding houses, but that was all brought on by the influx of the railroad. By the 1880s, there were passenger trains in and out on the half-hour and hour mark. So there was lots of people coming and going, and they needed a place to stay overnight. So the Waterford Hotel was a natural place to put an establishment and walking distance to the hotel. The land was available, so up it went. The overall design is pretty domineering to the landscape. It's got a few stories there, and there were decorative awnings coming out. They didn't really need to make it all splashy and attractive because it was the most prominent, closest to the station. There wasn't really a need to have it all flashy and anything like that. But there were many rooms in it. You could rent a room between 5 and 50 cents, depending on what size and how many beds you needed. And there was a dining room as well, so you could get your breakfast and meals and then be on your way. The most common story to come out of what's now Golden Pond is the murder of Michael Donnelly. And this is an interesting talking point because I love telling the story, but it's not actually the location of where this fantastic story happened. Michael Donnelly, of course, was part of the infamous Black Donnellys from Lucan. And he was in town, in Waterford, on the train, working on the railroad, and he got into a barroom brawl and was stabbed and bled to death. Dr. Duncan couldn't save him, unfortunately. But that all happened across the river, over the bridge there at the Slat Hotel, and it wasn't the Waterford Hotel that this happened. So, a lot of people talk about the ghost stories and how the bar room maid is constantly scrubbing the blood off of the bar floor and all of that stuff, and her screams and all. But nothing like that happened in the Waterford Hotel, unfortunately. There were a number of proprietors for the Waterford Hotel, but by 1953, the most prominent proprietors had purchased the building. That was George and Pauline Syracuse. And they had quite an effect on the community. They were well established, highly regarded, and George was quite skillful at business and quite the entrepreneur as well. So the Syracuses have an interesting story to that hotel. And of course, many people in the community still refer to it as the Syracuse Hotel or just the Syracuse. The main thing is the refurbishment that happened to the hotel, and that was all brought on by George and Pauline's campaign to have Waterford not be dry anymore. It's kind of hard to believe that by 1960, Waterford was still a dry town, but that goes back almost to 1872, and nearly 100 years of Waterford practicing temperance and prohibition and all of that fun stuff. There's a reason that Waterford has a temperance street, of course, so it's pretty wild to think of. But George and Pauline had a huge campaign in 1960 to overturn those rulings, and they were successful. They had over 60% of the town's vote to go wet, as they said. So that was a huge thing for the community. And George had also promoted the idea of there being an increase in employment for the community, and that a brewer's retail would come in, the beer store and an alcohol store, and also employment for his hotel, because he just had a handful of people running the place before it went wet. And by the time they put the bars in and whatnot, there were 17 full employees. So they did some tremendous things there. And the hotel was written up in quite a popular magazine on hotels and tourism in 1961. And it said that almost $100,000 in renovations had happened to the hotel, with the establishment of a cocktail bar and the rafters dining room and a banquet hall that held a number of people, and then another bar that held almost 100 people in the basement. So it was quite the transformation for Waterford and that hotel in particular. So during the 1979 tornado, which went right down Alice Street and to the end of Main Street, the hotel was pretty much unscathed. There used to be a massive sign that said Syracuse Hotel on the top. The Syracuse is standing strong and proud, while other storefronts remained in rubble and bricks and lines and trees everywhere. So it's interesting to note that even in the 1960s, there was a number of business-minded people and the chamber and council that had started to realize that downtown cores were in decline. And you see that happen definitely by the late 1970s. And then of course by the end of the railroad, the decline of the railroad and then total disbandment of the passenger trains coming through and then freight trains coming, there just wasn't the people coming into town that once supported all of these establishments. So the downtown core really suffered. And then by 1989, the hotel had been sold and bought up by a group that transformed it and reopened it in 1990 as we know it today, the Golden Ponds Retirement Home. Not all that much changed, actually. There was some freshening up of things and some layers of paint, and they've redone the front to have it more historically accurate to what it would have been originally. When the first renovations happened with the Syracuse, there was this kind of block stone that was put on the facade to have it more of a modern and hip feel, but that's been removed and it's been returned to the brick facade and entrance that you would have seen more originally back in the 1880s.
This building has an incredible history as far as the downtown area of Waterford, one of the original buildings in the early 1800s. 4 stories. Most people in this area know it as formerly the Syracuse Hotel. You know, it was quite a happening place back in the 70s and 80s, a little bit before my time, but it makes a beautiful setting for a retirement home. At one time where rooms for the hotel are now the resident suites. There's different options with amenities in the rooms, but they're very large, high ceiling rooms, many of which have beautiful views of the surrounding ponds here. And that's probably my favorite thing about the building is its location here. Just right down near the ponds in Waterford, the walking trail's right out the back door, and the scenery is just breathtaking. So Golden Pond has 28 private rooms right now. We offer, all meals are included, laundry, housekeeping for our residents. We have a multitude of staff available to serve them and provide their care needs, whatever that might be. We are an independent living facility, and that's our philosophy. When our caregivers, our staff come to work, we walk through the door, we're walking into their home. This is their residence. They have the privacy and autonomy just as you do at home at your residence. So the most incredible thing for me as being part of this now is that I've been in Waterford my entire life, and there are people that live here right now that I knew when I was younger. I used to deliver papers to them or cut their grass, shovel their driveway. So now to be a part of and continue to serve the people of Waterford and surrounding area is very special to me.
Back in the 1990s, my parents were part of that original group who purchased this building with the vision of turning it into a retirement home. It's great to see that vision fulfilled and to know that people like Dave, Renee, and Mike are continuing to provide this great service to Waterford. If you're looking to move in and around the Waterford area, be sure to contact us at progressiverealtygroup.ca, your hometown realtor.